Jeff Boyer, listening to your short answer to a question about black Dianetics, I was struck by the thought, was LRH just a bald-faced liar? It seems that so much of Scientology is composed of, quote, just stuff from his fertile imagination, combined with, well, just lies. Government and psychiatry/psychology conspiracies to take him down, his war record and attendant wounds, his second wife who wasn't. I mean, dang. Xenu can be chalked up to his sci-fi imagination, but the supposed abilities of upper-level OTs? Didn't he have to know it was all lies? How could he not? Okay, Jeff, well, clearly we are looking to, Hubbard's intentions and ideas and intent. So it's uncertain, we can only conjecture about this. Okay, I got to kind of put that conditional out there. That being said, I have said many, many times that Hubbard was absolutely a pathological liar, a megalomaniac, narcissist, authoritarian. Lots of labels apply to L. Ron Hubbard. Non-believer was not one of the labels I've ever applied to L. Ron Hubbard, though. He did believe in his own subject. And, it kind of comes down to, are we going to look at this from our headspace or are we going to look at it from his? From his point of view, grew up in the Midwest, was put upon, hated his education, but could write, could tell tall tales, had a very, very active imagination, and found that he could manipulate other people using that imagination and his exploits of adventure and excitement that he could always bedazzle a room with. And then he is a writer of some, success during the Pulp Fiction years. The war comes. He goes into World War II. He's a total failure. I mean, total failure. He had big, huge aspirations, wanted to go into military intelligence, wanted to be a spy, ended up becoming a, captain of two different ships, which he totally screwed up the command of and was relieved of his command. Then proceeded to lie about all of that. Said he suffered war wounds when he really didn't. He was just looking for an out to stay away from his wife and kids because he didn't want to go back to Washington State and have to take any responsibility for them. So much easier to just be a serial philanderer and get it mixed up in the occult with Jack Parsons in the 1940s. And from there, it was a hop, skip, and a jump over to working with Joseph Campbell and coming up with this idea of a mental health therapy of Dianetics. And all this time, according to what we have from his private writings, remember we have those affirmations, where Hubbard believes that he is in a really bad way and at the same time has aspirations of being the master of all he surveys and convincing himself that he is amazing to women, dominating men, the ruler of his domain. He is all that. He has to keep pumping himself up and telling himself this stuff. So then he comes up with this Dianetics thing because he understands hypnotism and he understands a little bit about psychotherapy, and he's working with these other people who are giving him ideas too. And they come up with this Dianetics stuff. And Hubbard was very clearly going into auditing sessions with the intent of resolving his personal demons, his issues. And he thought over the course of time, maybe from the very beginning, but certainly by the mid to late 1950s, Hubbard was believing his own bullshit. Now, whether he ever thought it was bullshit or not is actually a question. It's an open-ended question. I have said that I believe he was well aware of how he was conning people. But let's not forget the levels of the depths of self-deception that people can engage in. Cognitive dissonance and motivated reasoning and stuff, we talk about these things as fallacies or fallacious thinking or ways that people fool themselves. But people can also apply those same kind of fallacies to themselves. They can be, they can pump themselves up on their ego. They can tell lies to themselves as easily as they lie to other people about how great they are, how good they're doing, how wonderful everything is. And in fact, one wonders with the amount of this that goes on in the real world, whether any of us would really be able to get by if we couldn't tell ourselves a few fibs about ourselves as we go through life. You know, you need those little morale boosts. You need those little assists. Well, Hubbard also potentially suffered from temporal lobe epilepsy. And this is a theory that I actually really to this day still subscribe to. This was, we laid this out in a podcast with Yuval Leor years ago on my channel. And it was really good stuff. And I really do believe that Hubbard could have had a physical condition, a temporal lobe epilepsy. And that's not the same thing as, you know, as you don't have grand mal seizures. It's not like your regular, more commonly understood epilepsy. TLE, the epilepsies, the seizures that happen when you have TLE have different effects. You're not on the floor, you know, kind of flopping around. You're in a God place. Your head goes to, I am God. I am all that when it comes to religion. I am all seeing, all powerful, all knowing. People who have suffered from TLE have literally had spasms or seizures where they went tearing down the street telling people, I'm God, you better do what I tell you. You know, I mean, we're really not rational stuff. It tends to be, apparently, according to what we've all went over with us, that TLE tends to go in, the seizures tend to cause religious exaggerated thinking or hyperbolic thinking or delusions of grandeur even. It can also go the other way where you can, you know, have this incredibly powerful feeling of that there is no God whatsoever, you know, and that kind of thing. But I believe Hubbard went in the direction of having this incredibly spiritual awakening when he's having these, when and if he had these seizures. And he certainly spoke and acted and wrote as though he was a great religious philosopher, an incredible thinker, a humanitarian extraordinaire, and a person who was personally seeing to it as his mission in life that all of humanity was going to be benefited because of his existence. He was going to be the guy who was going to help everybody through these techniques. So, you know, so I'm going over all of this because I'm trying to show that it wasn't just a matter, it's not a simple matter with L. Ron Hubbard of, oh, I have an idea. I know how I'll con these people. And then he writes, a 400-page manuscript of Dianetics and gets it published and then proceeds to ride the wave and continue creating the movement and continue to do so, for 46 years until he dies. Every single day connected to writing on, lecturing on, giving orders about Scientology. Thousands and thousands of written pages, 5,000 recorded lectures, 25 basic books, pamphlets, briefings, all kinds of stuff, right? So much material. I mean, the full scope of it would fill this room. The amount of bullshit Hubbard wrote over 46 years just on the subject of Dianetics and Scientology. I don't believe that a simple con man would do that. Not to that extent. I think he really believed it. And I think he was using it in an effort to try to, like I said, address his own demons, which to the day he died, he couldn't do. And that's how I see it. And I'm not saying any of this to give the guy a pass. I hope that's obvious. None of this is, Hubbard was an okay guy because he really believed it. It doesn't matter what you believe. It matters what you do. And what L. Ron Hubbard did was nothing but awful. So, did he do it from a place of, full conscious awareness that he was fucking with people? Well, absolutely. Sometimes, definitely. He admitted to it as much. He would say he would just do stuff just to do stuff, just to mess with people. So he did have this kind of thing going on. But if you ever really questioned Hubbard's intentions, or you really, really got into his face about it, you would very, very quickly be at the receiving end of Hubbard's ire, and that could be quite strong. So he felt quite motivated to defend his position and to keep writing and discussing and talking about and pushing out Scientology stuff. And I just don't think that, I don't know, man. I just don't think that volume of work and dedication that he had, despite everything else that we know and all the awful, I just don't think that is an indication of just a con man. I could be wrong, but this is a subjective question, so that's my opinionated subjective answer. There you go.